Good morning. My name is Jay Jones. I'm the principal at the Providence Academy at William Wells Brown here in Lexington. Dr. Obi asked me to speak to your class today about the roles and responsibilities of being an administrator. She also sent me some questions that you all shared, and I will get to those at the end. But first, I wanted to tell you just a little bit about myself and about my position here and about our school. This is my 7th year as head principal at William Wells Brown. Prior to that, I was an administrative dean at another elementary school for 3 years. And prior to that, I was a music teacher and orchestra director here in our district. Just a little bit about our school. We are the first true community school in our district. And actually, I believe we're the only true community school in our district. Our school was built with a collaboration of Fayette County Schools and the Urban County government. Our school was very fortunate to have a community center in the building. We also have a full service school clinic. And we're also very fortunate to have a 21st Century grant that provides summer school and after school programming for our kids. We also have a family resource center, and we're able to bring on a family community liaison this year to help meet the needs of our families. William Wells Brown is located in the east end of Lexington. We are a downtown school. We're just a few miles from UK and a couple of blocks from Transylvania University. And so with our location, we're able to tap into a lot of community resources that can collaborate with our teachers and students. Next, I'll get into some of the questions you all submitted. A first-year teacher, your expectations and your support. You are expected to work hard. I'm just going to be completely honest. You have to work hard. Teaching is not easy. A lot of people think that teaching is just all fun, but it is not. It can be really tedious and really draining sometimes. It's very rewarding for sure when we see our kids progress and move from one level to the next, but it is a lot of work. We have a lot of meetings and the expectations are really high, especially at a school like William Wells Brown. I expect our teachers to go above and beyond. And I'm just being completely honest about it. There's a lot of work to be done. So I expect you to jump in and do everything you can to meet the needs of our kids. But you will have support. Our district has a new teacher induction program. So every teacher is partnered with an experienced teacher in their building for their first 3 years. So you'll meet with them throughout the year and with myself. As well, you have meetings with your team 2 to 3 times a week, especially here at William Wells Brown. We have PLCs or professional learning communities 2 or 3 times a week to check in on lesson planning, to look at data, just to make sure we're getting everything done we need to for our kids. Interviews. You need to be early. You need to be early. Don't come in right on time, but arrive early. You want to make a really good impression on the interview panel, and you want to dress to impress. Men, you need to wear a tie. You need to have a shirt on that is ironed. You just really want to walk out knowing that you made the best impression that you could and presented the best version of yourself. Please arrive early and look sharp. In the interview, you will probably get asked questions about experience working with diverse student populations, and that's ethnically and socioeconomically. As you know, schools look a lot different than they did 10 to 20 years ago, and so we have lots of different students coming in with different backgrounds. And so we want to know that you are experienced in working with various needs and various types of kids and are able to adjust instruction and differentiate for the needs of the students in your classroom. Next, you ask about collaboration. For students, we use Kagan strategies. Most schools are using that these days. Kagan is cooperative learning. And with it, it really involves intentional training to get the kids to facilitate their own groups. And with that, you assign roles to the students. They may have an elbow partner or a face-to-face partner. And with that, you have to train the kids early on in the beginning of the year on what their job is and what they need to do their job successfully. So it's all about that planning and preparation at the beginning of the year for your groups to go well. So that's Kagan, Kagan. There's lots of videos and resources online about Kagan cooperative learning. School-wide behavior, we are a PBIS school, that's Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. With that system, we focus on the positive mainly. Most of the research out there now really focuses on positive reinforcement and not as much on what the kids are doing wrong. To change behavior, you really need to acknowledge what they're doing right and let them know that when I do right, I will get a reward, and you will see those positive consequences, not just the negative. Reading and math programs. We use Reading Wonders here for Tier 1 instruction in our district, and for math, we use Investigations and Envisions. You can look online at those resources as well. But in addition to those programs, you may have students who need Tier 2 and Tier 3 instruction, which means another teacher may come into your classroom to help them in a small group, or they may get pulled out to another classroom for those supports. Collaboration, as I said, our teachers meet 2 to 3 times a week for POCs. And during those POCs, we look at data, we plan lessons, and doing a lot of preparation for what's coming next, and also responding to the instruction that we've provided. So with those, you want to come prepared with everything you're expected to come with. And again, you want to be on time. Being a teacher is hard work. You really got to be on top of your schedule and make sure you have all your ducks in a row to be successful. Transitioning from an activity that they're reluctant to change from. Well, again, it's about setting up your classroom for success. At the beginning of the year, you need to train your kids to know that this is the amount of time you have for this. I'm going to set a timer. This is what the transition looks like. You need to practice it. You need to rehearse it with the kids as much as possible so that as the year progresses, they know exactly what to do when it's time to transition to the next activity. You are going to have kids who aren't ready to do the next thing, but we have to be on a schedule. Adults are on a schedule, students have to be on a schedule. And so again, you have to practice to let them know this is what that transition looks and sounds like. The next thing is about attire, attendance, preparation, trauma-informed care. Depending on the school you're at, the trauma-informed care is really gonna make a big impact. You wanna make sure that you're cognizant of the fact that our students come to school with lots of needs, and not just academic needs. Some of them may have experienced some trauma, have seen things, have been exposed to things, and you just never know how that's gonna play out in the classroom. And so you wanna keep that in mind as you're interacting with the kids and as you're giving those consequences, because you don't want to just focus on, again, on what they did wrong. You want to really look at the motivation of the behavior and what is that stemming from. And it's really about building relationships with your kids. That is the biggest key. The kids need to know you care. They need to know that you're not just there for the academics. That's important, but they want to know that you care individually about them, about their academic needs and about their social and emotional needs. In my school, attire, I like you to look professional each day. We usually have one day a week where you can wear jeans, but it depends on the school. Some principals let their staff wear jeans every day. I do that on Fridays. And at our school, each Monday, we all wear khakis and our purple school shirts. Our school colors are purple and gold, so every Monday we wear a polo shirt and our khakis, so we look pretty uniform on Mondays. And then on Fridays are jean days for everybody. Attendance, you need to maintain regular attendance. You need to be here every day. At the end of the year, you do not want your principal to question whether you should come back because you haven't maintained regular attendance. That means coming to work on time, and that means making sure, unless you have something going on like sickness in your family or individual or an emergency, you want to be at work as much as possible. Again, the day-to-day responsibilities are a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of planning and prep that goes into having a successful classroom and to making sure your kids are progressing. So you just got to be on top of your game. I just want to reiterate that teaching is not easy. It is not easy. And if you're at a high need school, those expectations are just going to be even greater. And you may have some structures and systems in place in a high need school that you may not at another school. So you need to be prepared for that. Next, challenges going from teaching to being an administrator. The biggest thing I noticed when I transitioned from teaching to being an administrator was that not everyone has the same work ethic. When I taught, I worked hard. I went above and beyond all the time. Anything my principal asked me to do, I did it without question. I'm just the type of person. I work hard. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it well to the best of my ability. And so, becoming an administrator, when you're managing adults, you kind of get to see how people work, and you realize not everybody does things exactly like you do. And so that was one of the biggest challenges. And not that that's every teacher. Not every teacher is different than what I was, but I did run into a few that I'm like, oh, they're not the hardest worker there is out there. And also just the amount of responsibilities I have as an administrator. Number one, managing adults. You have to oversee a lot of things in the building. So it's very important to have people on your leadership team that can handle things. You can't do it all by yourself, because there's lots of academic needs, there's behavior needs, just the day-to-day operations of the school, the financial needs of the school, managing the books. There's just a lot of things you have to monitor, and you need to have really strong structures in place to get it all done. You don't have to be a superhero to be an administrator. I'm over that. I wanted to come in here and be the Superman that came to fix everything, but that's not how it works. There's a lot of work to be done, and you can't do it alone. So you want to strategically place people into positions that have strengths that maybe you don't have, so that they can handle things and that you trust that it's gonna get done. Next, better preparing for your first year of teaching. I would suggest you get as much experience in the classroom as you can outside of your student teaching. Volunteer at a school. Get some time doing some reading and math groups with those kids. Get accustomed to implementing behavior management plans. You want to get your hands dirty and your feet wet as much as you can before you have your own classroom, because a lot of first year teachers, it's a bit of a shock, the amount of work and how much planning goes into making sure their classroom is going the way they want it to go. Okay, so as much experience as you can in front of kids and diverse populations of kids. Are there ways schools could better communicate with families? For sure. I'm of the philosophy that it really depends on the family. There are some families, they respond to every email, every phone call. Some, just depending on the situation, you may have to go to the house. Dr. Obi and I, we have done several home visits, going to the house during the day or after school to meet the needs of the family. And you really want to be flexible with families with their work schedules and what they have going on in their lives. And so, we have multiple ways. We email, we phone call, we do the Remind app. A lot of teachers have Class Dojo to communicate with parents. We still do the flyers being sent home. That still works for a lot of families. But we also do a number of family events throughout the year, face-to-face with the families. And this year I started doing breakfast or lunch with the principal a few times a year. And during those meetings, they're not very formal. It's just a time to form relationships with the parents and get to know them in a different way. Because for some folks, there's kind of a disconnect between home and school. So you want to do everything you can to break down those barriers and just be real and have a real relationship with the people you're working with. They want to know that they can trust you, and that when they're leaving their kids with you, that they're in a safe place and that they're going to grow academically and emotionally. Hopefully I've covered everything. I feel like I was speaking pretty quickly, but my email is jay.jones@fayette.kyschools.us if you have any questions for me individually. And the school number is 859-381-4990. And if you're wanting to be an educator, make sure you're into it for the right reasons. You have to love kids, but also be willing to put in the work that is necessary. Yes, I want you to love them and have a great relationship with them, but you need to be a hard worker. You need to be organized. You need to know that week to week, expectations may change. You have to be flexible. You have to be able to work with parents. You have to work with your kids and with your coworkers. You really need to be a well-rounded person who can work with lots of different people, lots of different kids, okay? So I wish you the best. I hope everyone is healthy at home, and I hope you have a great rest of the school year.